Excuse my French. Is your name Boaz? Because I'd love to get to know Yoaz.
Oh, yeah.
Baby girl, be direct, but be respectful. Honestly, that's how it works, honestly.
Say my ex relationship and situationships would say.
Visually Creative presents the newest Christian dating experiment without the shallow and pettiness of modern day dating shows. 6 contestants will choose who they feel is the most compatible as a potential kingdom spouse to not only date, but to grow with.
The toxic trait you have to unlearn.
Here's the catch. This experiment is 100% blind. They will not meet their match until the reveal in the garden.
So shoot your shot by creating a pickup line using a Bible story.
Okay, so I'm contestant A. My pickup line is, God taught Daniel how to use his hands to war. I'll make sure to ask God how to use my heart to love you properly. Can we go out to eat?
Okay, B.
I was on the road to Damascus, but girl, you knocked me to the ground.
Yo.
I'm Lot. My last wife wasn't following the Lord, so maybe we can connect better.
Ladies, go ahead and take your time. So you try to build an ark? Cause I know a guy.
All right.
Good answer. All right, I'm contestant B. Are you a wise man? Because I could be your North Star. Excuse my French. Is your name Boaz? Because I'd love to get to know Yoaz.
This is male C. How do you honor God with your gifts currently?
I'm contestant A, and the way I choose to honor God with my gifts is serving in the youth and young adults ministry at my church. And I'm using the gift that God has placed in me to love his people and to be an example and to just share the gospel.
I'm contestant B, and I help individuals, women, couples heal from relational trauma. That's a big part, like what God has given to me in the form of healing. I get to partner with God to give to others.
I'm contestant C, and I serve the Lord by leading a women's small group at my apartment. It started out with 2 of us, but now there's about 8 of us on the average week, and it's just strangers that have come together, and we were literally neighbors, and so that's kind of where it started, and now it's brought other people to faith.
All right, I'm contestant B. So some ways that I'm serving the Lord is I'm pursuing my master's degree right now in counseling. I believe God has given me the spirit of counsel to counsel people inside the church and outside the church. I'm also a youth pastor, and I'm moving up pretty soon to assistant pastor. So my plan is to still do a lot of outreach to youth and young adults and just evangelizing and actually holding like disciple classes and building people up in their faith.
I'm contestant C. My purpose is to help people to get to where they're supposed to be through communication. I use my gifts in elementary ministry at my church, as well as helping establish a dance ministry. And lastly, I have written a few books. So I always look to ways to encourage people, see where they are, and help them elevate to where God will call them to be.
I help with a young adult group that helps serve the Atlanta metropolitan area. They help with people from high school all the way to 30-something years old. I serve in my church as the right hand for my pastor, and I learn a lot so I can teach other people how to see the fullness of Christ and everything that is happening around them. The next question is, what is something you're looking for and haven't found yet in dating?
Something I've been looking for in dating is really a man of God who's serious about his word. I've had very unfortunate experiences where they said they were a man of God and they were only a man of God because I said I was a woman of God. So finding someone who's intentional and real about their relationship with God, because I don't play with God and I don't expect my significant other to play with God either. Period. Poo.
I am contestant B. The biggest thing that I've been looking for and haven't found is intentionality. I've met great men, but when it comes to what people say they want and what they actually pursue are 2 different things. And when people meet somebody who is also intentional, they have to assess how intentional they really are. And usually they're gonna fall off if they're not with it. So
I'm contestant C, and I haven't found someone with all of these components. Someone who is a Christian, values their purity, someone I'm attracted to, just genuine chemistry, and someone that I can have fun with.
This is contestant A. What I haven't found yet is someone who understands the time commitment it takes to truly pursue what they aspire to see in Christ in their lives. And even with tight schedules or busy lives, making the time that's spent together actually matter and make an impact on each other's life. It sounds simple, but it be doing me.
All right, this is contestant B. Some things I wrote down was communication, honesty, integrity, trust. I feel like if we're dating intentionally to a certain point, we should be able to share our vulnerabilities with each other, and there'd be no judgment, there'd be no, anything like that. And then a life of prayer and knows how to have fun.
This is contestant C, and what I said was companionship. I've been looking for somebody, or look for someone that you can enjoy the mundane, the everyday moments with, the things that you don't really think about. I have come across more people that are trying to build up to these amazing moments, but I think you appreciate those amazing moments, the ones that you put on Instagram and the ones that you talk about. You appreciate those because you appreciate being at on a car ride or just sitting on the couch or folding laundry. When those moments are the ones that I'm looking for, and so someone that I can naturally build a companionship with.
The question is, what was the greatest act of obedience you've ever done?
This is contestant B. So apologizing. The Lord convicted me one time. I was at KSU and the Lord told me to go and apologize to my counselor. I had lied to her about not showing up one time. It wasn't even that serious, but he just convicted me and was like, look, you need to make this right. So literally I walk in there, as soon as I see it in front of everybody, it was probably about 20 people in the office. I'm like, look, I'm so sorry. God, I just started just pouring out, I'm so sorry I did this. So yeah.
This is contestant A. I think one of the examples of the obedient moments of God would have been moving to Atlanta. I moved here from New Jersey 2 years ago, and I could have gone to Texas, Florida, or Georgia, and Georgia made the most sense. And I've seen a lot of growth happening because comfortability is overrated, and that is necessary to understand in order to move forward with Christ.
This was contestant C. So in 2016, I was pursuing my master's. I had all these plans of what my life was going to look like, and I was prematurely making these decisions, and I ended up getting really sat down from all of those opportunities. I thought I was delayed, but then when I got an opportunity to move forward with my master's and then move down to Atlanta, all of the things that are part of my life now that I mentioned earlier, all naturally as seamlessly fell into place.
Mine was also moving here. I moved here in August of 2022 from California, and I was applying to jobs, but Atlanta was the one job that I was just like, I'm not gonna get it. I got it. They gave me 25 days to move, and I came here with no furniture, had to ship my car, and the Lord just provided and made it happen.
I'm contestant B. My obedience moment was I got married really young to my college sweetheart. And there was infidelity, and I remember feeling like getting to a point where I just kept fighting, but I didn't have peace. When we separated, I remember hearing the Lord clear as day say, if you let go, I will make your latter greater than your former. Mm-hmm. And so for me, literally taking my hands off that, my life has never been the same. And I'm so grateful that God covered me.
I'm contestant A. My greatest act of obedience was actually to stay put in the middle of the desert, physically and spiritually. After I had graduated from undergrad, I moved back home with my parents, and I did not want to be there. When I kept crying out to God, and I was just like, why am I here? I don't want to be here. Why are you doing this to me? And then one day at church, pastor's wife came up to me and she was like, God told me to tell you that this is just a stop in the road to where your final destination is, and do not be discouraged. From there forward, I just started acting in obedience to God and started to love where I was. Kind of find out there was actually purpose beyond just spiritual growth. For me being there, my mom ended up getting diagnosed with cancer again for the third time. So if I would have fought and gotten my way, I would not have been able to be there for my mom.
Describe the personality and characteristics of your ideal spouse.
Okay, I'm contestant number A. Letter A. A personality trait that I'm looking for: somebody who is content in themselves, secure in themselves, one who is kind, honest, loving by default, nurturing and inquisitive, always wanting to know more about more, if that makes sense, and know how to do it in a loving, respectful manner to everybody else and each other, you know what I'm saying? So
Cool. I am contestant B. So I said family-oriented, loving, kind, and confident in themselves.
I'm a contestant C. I said kind, also a woman that figures things out when we are in challenges or more or less the sky is falling. Someone that's also adventurous. And also I said random. I have moments where, you never know what we can get into, what things that there is to experience. And so are you down for spontaneity of life? So those 4 things.
I'm contestant A, and I said intentionality is important. Being kind, funny, thoughtful, mature, spontaneous, and adventurous, loving, and most importantly, God-fearing.
It's C. I am looking for someone who's fit to be the leader of a household, someone who is generous, gentle, funny, intelligent, and ultimately just someone that I can have a good time with to enjoy the simple things in life.
I'm contestant B. I have intelligent, wise, compassionate, funny, semi-athletic, at least health conscious, like take care of your body, leader oriented, and can kind of push me out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Can people tell you're a Christian, or are you just telling people you're a Christian? What up, yo? I'm Carl with Fruit Over Phonics. We're a Christian lifestyle brand that empowers believers to live boldly or living authentically. See, phonics is the way that we teach people through words and sounds, and fruit is the result of our actions. The whole premise of the brand is letting our actions speak louder than our words. And Jesus said they'll know us by our fruits. So if we abide in his word, we'll bear much fruit. We got a lot of different collections to help you in your evangelism journey, sharing the gospel and bringing people into the kingdom. If you're a Christian on the inside and you want to rock it on the outside, check out Fruit Over Phonics. See y'all. Peace.
What does serving your potential spouse look like to you?
The way I would serve my spouse would be learning her. What that means is trying to get into her world, understand what's important to her, and then as I understand those things, I can help fill in the gaps of when we move throughout life. Because she appreciates this or because she wants that, it's not so much just like a list of things, it's because I'm continuously paying attention and continuously locked into her, because that's the model that I've heard that for a marriage is 2 servants in love trying to outserve each other. And so I don't like losing, so I'm trying to outserve her.
I like that.
I'm contestant A. I'll serve my spouse being intentional, being empathetic, caring, exceptionally considerate, leading by example, loving by default, being quick to forgive, providing mentally, sexually, financially, spiritually, emotionally, and then making sure that you are secure in yourself and in whatever we're building together. And that includes prayer and all that wonderful jazz too.
All right, this is contestant B, leading by example, providing in every way possible, pushing you to where God wants you to be, and however that looks, supporting you in all of your endeavors, embracing your flaws, really learning for you. Everybody can show their good side, but I'm interested in knowing every part of it. 1,
meeting needs, I think spoken and unspoken. Of course, it takes time to know what the unspoken needs look like, but when you see a gap, like trying to fill it. Empathy, I think that's important, / emotional intelligence. Clear communication, so that way they know how they can love me better, and being receptive when they communicate with me. And then being supportive, like whatever their dreams or purposes, whatever God has put on their heart, making sure that they know that they have my support.
I've had some practical things. Cleanliness is important to me, so keeping the house clean, being intentional with things I know that you like, making your life easier by packing you lunch, cooking dinner, and serving you in that way, because I want a happy husband. So just practical things like that, I guess.
This is A. I said loving them in the way in which they need to be loved. Everyone has different love languages, so being intentional about loving them the way in which they want to be loved, being there for them through the ups, through the downs, the good times, bad times, happy, sad times, all the things. Lifting them up. I don't ever want to tear my husband down. I want to lift him up and, be that wife that prays for him, that's there for him 24/7. And then also partner in crime. Not that we're going to actually do crimes, but basically saying that like on the days where he can't give 100%, I can pick up, and let him have that moment, and just making sure that I'm, like I said, there for him in the best way possible.
What ministry do you feel called to, if any?
Ooh.
This is contestant C. I am a communicator, not in any specific area, but in places where people need to be able to get encouraged, to be uplifted, and to be able to be spurred on in their journey as it relates to their walk with Christ. And so it looks like different things for wherever I'm at, but I'm more focused on what my purpose is rather than the position. So allowing me to focus on my purpose allows me to be malleable to whatever position that the Lord will put me in.
This is contestant A. My goal is to make it tomorrow better than today in some way, shape, or form. So that I think will be most commonly done or most effectively done through part of the pastoral path. That's going to focus on anybody who can talk and walk. You feel me? So age isn't really a barrier when it comes to the counseling in that regard. I want to see the fullness of God realized in everybody's life. So I want to be able to answer, and I feel called to answer the questions that people have about God that make them feel like, maybe Christianity is not for me, maybe God isn't the way, or what about this is demonic or whatever. And finding the truth of what the Word of God has to say about it is kind of where I feel inclined to be at.
Justin B, definitely youth and young adults. I do want to branch out to colleges if it be God's will, like spark revival there. I just have a passion to see souls saved. So that's a major place. And recently I also been counseling people in trauma. So kind of seeing like the healed sick in hospitals, things like that, like going to hospitals, even if they don't want us to pray, just to have an encouraging word as they go through their crisis.
I definitely feel called to work with the youth, specifically teenagers. I've always had a heart for teens, and I work with them not just in ministry, but also in the secular world too as my job. So I definitely feel like that's where God's calling me to be, to build up ministry in which the teens can be reached because they just go through so much. And so that's where I feel like my ministry calling is.
I am Lady B. My overarching vision and goal is to eradicate divorce from the experience of the believer. I don't believe that as people who know the God that instituted marriage and that is love, that we should experience those sorts of things. And so I do that through helping people heal. I built communities and things like that, but helping people heal from emotional, relational trauma, helping couples to resolve their issues in a more impactful way through learning better communication styles and things like that, and even engaging in men, with men as a therapist, and helping them to better understand how they can evolve in the relationship. So a lot of my life has been purpose and dedicated for helping people love better, and first God, themselves, and then others, and to grow in love and stay in love.
I feel most called to hospitality. I'm a military brat, so I've just always been the extra friend. I've never really had my own group of friends. So I just have a heart for the people that may be overlooked or eating lunch alone and stuff like that. So loving thy neighbor to me is just pulling people together, and whether that's having them over for dinner at my house or just having that community outside of church, I'd say I am most called to.
Question is, what are your expectations of marriage?
So my expectation of marriage is that it should be fun. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in a dry marriage where I'm just like, wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, it's you. I want my marriage to be fun and exciting. And within that, I also want other things too, such as, family oriented. Like, I want us to be able to do things together. Yes, we're individuals, but we're two individuals coming together. Of course, it's a partnership, so we work together in all that we do. Lots of communication there. I'm really big on communication, so there's that. For me, it should also be a reflection of God. And then lastly, for me, and also important, marriage is a ministry. We're coming together as one to reflect the kingdom of God and showing people, what it means to be in a godly marriage.
Contestant B, my overarching answer is really Ephesians 5, but I guess the subcategories under that would be like my expectation of my spouse, provider, protector, priest. My expectations of myself in the marriage would be to be supportive, to provide wisdom and perspective, and to create an atmosphere for our household as a whole. Of course, you want to experience connection and fun and a healthy sex life, hallelujah. And just all the things that come with living life with somebody, companionship. Overall, we're pursuing God together, so learning more about God ultimately.
Expectation is someone who fully relies on God, someone who is loyalty, someone who likes surprises, learning you every day, and not just thinking I have you solved. And I want home to be your escape rather than you trying to escape home. So keeping it, again, a happy place for you.
This is contestant A. The expectations of my spouse. Marriage includes community, but it's between two people. So it's really about what the two of you guys have going down. I have respect, understanding, consideration for any and everything being present. I think that's very important. People are there, but they're not really showing up. Understanding that growth never stops, whether it's in church, in the family, in the house, in yourself, investing in what we have going on. Children, I love me some kids. Like, the kids are very important, you feel me? If they look like me, the bigger their head, the better, you feel me? So, we also have effective communication as well, because you can't expect what you haven't said. So making sure that we understand where each other's coming from.
Contestant B, so I said grounded in God. I believe it's the Lord that teaches us how to love, and so definitely grounded in Him. A place where we can both grow together and as individuals, unconditional love, open communication, fun, and like all uppercase letters. Like it has to be fun. I'm trying to go vacationing in Paris, and the Bible says the bedroom undefiled.
Come on.
So, we just want to do what we do. Turn up.
He likes fun too.
For me, I said that my expectation for marriage would be that we would be an example to both the world globally and in our community and for our children. I want our family to be a family that when people see us, that they'll be able to see that the Lord is working in our family. Even the practical, everyday things are things that they'll be able to want to pull up on, and we'll be able to encourage and inspire others in the church and also secularly as well.
What is your relationship like with both of your parents? How does it impact your romantic relationships?
This is Lady A. My relationship with my parents is good now. There was a rough period, but that's because I was being rebellious, but it's okay. I love my parents to life. When it comes to a romantic relationship, I'm so grateful that God blessed me with parents who are praying parents. I've learned so much from them. I'm so grateful for the example that they have been.
This is Lady B. I am the only child to a single mom. I know who my father is, but we have a very distant relationship. He doesn't even live in the country. And my mom and I had a rocky relationship because I feel like I grew up like her sister and not necessarily as her daughter. So I had to learn responsibility at a young age. And what was passed down was independence and creativity and all these things, like making things stretch, making things happen. However, God staffed my life with amazing men and women in my family who like take care of me. I'm everybody's daughter in my family, kind of the golden child. And I call my godfather dad. He has been around, and whenever I need wisdom, him and my godmother have been married almost as long as I've been alive. They provide me wisdom, encouragement. There are plenty of people in my life that are mentors, couples that I look up to and serve. It impacted my relationships, especially when I was younger, just seeking like male attention and connection and things like that. But I think as I've gotten older and I've learned more, I lean into the connections that I have. Oh, and me and my mom's relationship is like, by God's grace, way better now. We've like entered like this redemptive arc in our relationship, and I'm really grateful for that. So.
Hey, it's C. I'm very close with both of my parents. They've been together for 32 years. They are best friends. They have so much fun. They do a trip every year. My parents, one thing I can take away from them is that they never said the D word, divorce. I've seen them fight and go through stuff, but that was just a word that was never used in our household because it wasn't an option for them. The thing that is definitely affecting my dating life is I'm the baby. They are always looking out for me, and it has made me kind of almost afraid to bring someone home. Because they're going to be all over it. I do feel like to an extent no one is good enough for me in their eyes, and so it makes me nervous to really get serious with someone and bring them home.
I have a great relationship with both of my parents. How that impacts my romantic relationships is that it's basically been the model of what I've seen for marriage. I've seen my dad consistently serve my mother and look to honor her, and I've seen her also support and encourage him. So many moments growing up that I've appreciated and desire to have as part of my marriage. And so I love my parents. I'm excited to one day allow them to be grandparents and all the exciting things going forward.
I'm Contestant B. So I actually grew up in a single parent household with me and my mom. She's taught me how to treat a woman. My relationship with my biological father isn't the best. It took me years to kind of heal from that, and I did, thank God. And so my mom remarried when I was in like middle school. And how does that impact my romantic relationships? I know now that being honest, open about intentions from the jump is very important. I have a lot of good models of marriage in my family, so I just lean on all of that.
This is Contestant A. My parents and I, those are my road dogs for real. They are amazing. Talk to my mama a couple times a week, my dad once a week. Shout out to them. I look just like my dad without the beard, so it's fine there. I love my parents. They love me too. The romantic effect is that I have somewhere to go to. I have questions. I have mentors. I have people who I look up to. I have people that I can actually fall back on if anything really goes that far left. Our relationship is ours, but you have to also have reasonable counsel in your ear as well. They don't tell me what to do, but let me know what can be done sometimes. So God bless.
Looking to step up your shoe game? Tap in with LKG Customs, a faith-based sneaker customizing company based in the heart of Central Valley, California. LKG Customs hosts hands-on workshops where you can unleash your creativity and design your own dream pair of kicks. They also ship nationwide. Just share your vision and they'll bring it to life. Go to lkgcustoms.com for more info. Use our code VCTV24 for an extra 15% off your purchase.
How would you describe your communication style when you're angry? My communication style when I'm angry or hurt, initially I would like to have space probably process. Other times I would really just like for us to just sit down and just talk about it.
This is Contestant C. My communication style in an argument is I ask a lot of questions. I want to get into the whys, the whos, the theys. I want to understand those. I don't get turned up. I'm not a yeller. I'm not emotionally reactive. Yeah, it would just be trying to figure out how we can get to a common ground.
This is Contestant A. Baby girl, be direct, but be respectful. Honestly, that's how it works. I don't really get angry very much. Some people say I'm very emotional, but I know how to express my emotions. So I don't necessarily turn up. I don't yell. I don't get angry like that. So it's a safe place. Just make sure it stays a safe place and we're good, you feel me? So I don't like the silent treatment. I don't really call you out your name. I'm very respectful as well. You'll know that you can always come back and talk some more.
My initial reaction is just to talk it out. I don't like the silent treatment either. Don't go to bed angry, and I don't need space. I want to talk it out and I want to get to the bottom of it as quickly as possible.
Lady B, I also am not a yeller, not a name caller, nothing like that. But if I don't necessarily feel safe, or if I feel like if I'm being put on the defensive, sometimes I might shut down. And then we have to re-engage a little bit later. So I might say, I need a second, and then come back. But most of the time, if it's like an open space for disagreement, because disagreement is going to happen, I'm open to talking about it right then and there and seeing what we need to do to make it better.
I definitely, I'm not gonna lie to you, my tone of voice may change, but it's not in a yelling way. It's more in like why? Like I become very blunt and sometimes sarcastic, but not in a way to tear you down, but it's just like why can't we just talk about it? Anyway, at the end of the day, I'm always gonna, go through communication. I might ask for some time to process some things, but we'll always come back to it and make sure the problem is solved, or we can come to a compromise before we walk away and not, be confused.
What's a habit others might view as a toxic trait you have to unlearn? Contestant A has impatience, or I give too much leeway and have to pay for it on the back end. So whether it's behaviors, activities, myself, procrastination, or too much of a sense of urgency, it's usually on one side of the spectrum or the other.
This Contestant C, my toxic trait or the things that I'm working on is that with me cutting people off or deferring to people. So we're in disagreements and things of that nature. I see things that are going wrong in other people's lives. I'll put out myself and not always be as direct to try to correct other people.
I have this spectrum where I'm quick to cut off, or I'm overly caring. Really just finding that balance of when to kind of not be so quick to cut somebody off. And then also if someone disrespects someone I love, I have a very toxic trait of taking the gloves off.
I have imposter syndrome. I always think I'm bothering people. I've been told it's come off that I don't care. Because I think I'm bothering people, I will just leave them alone. And so that's something I'm actively trying to work on this year, and just sending the text and being intentional. But in the past, I've just withdrawn myself from situations because I feel like I'm a bother.
Deep sigh.
So this is Lady B. I think that the most common things I hear is that sometimes, and the reason why I'm big on communication now is because sometimes I have unspoken expectations. And so if you don't meet them, especially if we're just dating, we're not committed, I'm probably going to just ease my way on out. Yeah, and so maybe that's not fair because I haven't said exactly what I'm looking for. And also I can be a little bit stubborn.
This is Lady A. I'd say my toxic trait is that I'm too available. I try to be there for everybody, and when I say if you ever need anything, I truly 100% admit, mean it. But it's toxic in the way that I've neglected myself and sometimes other things that I need to be doing because I'm too busy trying to be there for everyone else.
Name a time in your life that caused you to fall from your faith or question it. How did you heal from it, or are you still working on it?
This is a 30-second answer?
That's a life story.
35. Lord have mercy. Okay.
All right. This is Lady B. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I used to travel for work. So I had a contract, and because of the pandemic, it ended up getting canceled. And I didn't know when the next one was going to come. So I ended up missing 3 months of my mortgage payment. And I started to feel like, okay, God, like, you just going to set me up to lose my house? I'm going to be on the side of the road with under a tent with a box. Like, I was spiraling. But it also taught me about God's faithfulness because it was fixed fairly quickly after.
This is Lady A. When I was in college, homegirl was wild. I grew up in a strict home, so when I got that freedom, I was like, I can finally do whatever I want. And during that time, I did fall away from God. But of course, every summer, go home and you go to church. So I would have encounters with God. And after I graduated, I really officially started getting it back together. And I'd say things are a lot better now than they are back then. And
this is more about questioning my faith. Right after college, I moved home. I had a good job, but I still lived at home with my parents in California. And I had just broken up with my college situationship that I thought was going to be forever. And I was just miserable. I decided that I hated California, and that was a terrible year in my life. I didn't come out of that hole until I was isolated and brought here.
This is contestant A speaking. I haven't quite fallen off per se, but I've definitely asked questions. No question is too big. It just means that the person you're asking doesn't know the answer. So finding better teachers, finding people who are willing to answer. If all power belongs to God, there's questions that need to be answered. And I think that everything has an answer in that good book we call the Bible.
This is contestant B. First, I would say is abuse in the pulpit. I've had some pastors that tried to use that title to tell me what I was supposed to do, how I was supposed to do it, how I was supposed to live, and also facing temptation without community. I never fell away, had some real close calls, and now I know that if I would have had community, somebody to talk to, that stuff would have never even happened.
This is contestant C. My moment was at the end of the fall of 2015 through 2016. My grandfather passed away, and I had just started my first career job. And because of many different things, the workplace ended up being a toxic workplace that I ended up leaving. And so the following year, I had left without an actual job to go to. And so it was just a lot of frustration trying to get into a new job. And so you started to ask God, why is this a situation?
What would your ex relationship or situationship say you did wrong in the relationship?
That's a heavy question.
I'm gonna just head out. I'm just playing.
I still didn't set boundaries and expectations early on. I had some expectations that I was expecting from her, and I feel like if I was given to a certain extent, it should have been reciprocated, and it wasn't. And so because of that, it just didn't work.
This is contestant C. I think for me, what would be communicated is that I was moving too quickly and a little bit too serious for where we were at, what I was looking to get. So started to plan and think about what the future would look like, and I started pushing us that way maybe before she'd be ready to.
This is contestant A. She told me that she thought I loved her so much that I would never break up with her. And she was wrong. She was because what happened, I was like talking there. So what happened was she would say I also didn't fight hard enough, even though she put me in that position. So she broke up with me, and then was surprised I didn't fight back for the love that wasn't there to go fight back for it. So it's really crazy how it happened. But yeah, after you take a bit of money, a bit of time and abuse, you gotta leave. You feel me? So she would say that I was too present when she wasn't. Whew.
Oh.
It was a lot. It's a good question. It's a very good question.
I have to preface this by saying I've been single for 4 years, but they would say I jumped to conclusions and thought the worst of them, and I was right. So.
And I was
And that's the end. This is Lady A. I would say my ex relationship and situationships would say unspoken expectations and also expecting too much for where they were at. So I'm always future forward thinking, and they were just trying to live life, have fun. Granted, they were a little younger than me, but still for them it was asking too much, and then I also wasn't expressing what exactly I needed or wanted from them.
This is Lady B. I also have a, preface, which is that I was married young. All right. So this was like 6 years ago. He would have said that I did not trust him to lead. Like I would question some of his decisions, in parentheses for good reason, but I'm healed, y'all.
Your significant other receives a phone call from their ex asking how they are doing to check in on them. Afterwards, it is revealed that they speak often and hang out occasionally. Boundaries with exes was never a topic you both discussed before. Moving forward, what boundaries, if any, would you implement? Go ahead and take 30 seconds.
This is our spouse or our person we're in a relationship with?
Relationship.
Important.
Okay.
All right, this is contestant C. If I were in that situation, it would, so we haven't had this conversation already, so then we now have to have the conversation now. And what we would look to have is to establish I'd like to understand the why is this even a thing? And also express my expectations of where I see us and how I see us. Since we're in a relationship, if I'm looking to move and progress forward, I don't see the value or need for this previous individual to be engaging with you.
I would definitely have a conversation as to why, why would you go back and talk to him? Like, if we're intentional by then, no communication at all. I mean, that's kind of simple to me. And if y'all need to talk, it's not y'all, it's we. If it's intentional, it's us talking to him now. Social media thing also, like, I don't feel like y'all should really be following each other after that neither.
This is contestant A. It not being a topic beforehand is madness. I don't know how we got where we at, and we don't know what's going on yet. But if that's the case, if that's your ex, that's your problem. If that's your ex, make sure it doesn't become my problem. Please handle it so it doesn't become our responsibility as well. Going forward, I feel like, I understand we build relationships and they can't always be cut off like that. But it should be like on an as-needed basis. And he don't really need you, so what's popping? Like, I don't understand why we on the phone so long. I got 3 seconds left. Keep him where he's at. God bless.
If we are 3 months into dating and you are still wanting to hang out with your ex, it seems as though you're not over her. And for me, we're done. Because we've only been together for 3 months, I haven't invested as much, so it's time for me to leave now rather than you show me this behavior later down the road.
This lady B, I would ask why they're still connected, just so I understand. I would state my preference, which would be that they cease contact, but ultimately it's up to him. Like, what you do is going to determine what I do after that, but I will state my preference and seek to understand first.
This is Lady A, and this is the deep question because I feels like it depends on the situation. But I would definitely ask why. Like, why do you feel like it's necessary to keep in contact with this person? And then after that, we would definitely set some boundaries. Okay, if this person is going to be in your life, then I need to meet them. And I'm like they said, everything is we. Let's have a group chat. We gonna talk in a group chat. Like, and no contact after 6 p.m. Like, strict boundaries on if this person needs to be in your life for whatever reason.
Next scenario. You and your significant other have a disagreement that builds into a heated argument while at their parents' house. Their parents jump in and disrespectfully addresses you and calls you out of your name. What would you do? How would you expect your significant other to respond?
This is Lady A. I would address my parents respectfully because at the end of the day, I'm not married to them, I'm married to you, and you are my priority. And if we need to leave to go finish having this conversation, then we'll do that, because what we're not gonna do is sit here and be disrespectful to anybody.
This is Lady B. I interpreted this as their parents was disrespectful to me. If they're being disrespectful to me, I'm just gonna let them know what the boundary is, and then I'm gonna separate myself. I would expect my husband to step in and probably for us to step out.
That's also how I interpreted it. My initial response is just to be quiet and let you handle it. And I would expect you to defend me. Even if we are the ones arguing, you are supposed to be on my side. And so I would let you handle it, and I would hope that you would pull me first and talk to me, and then maybe you would go talk to your parents or we talk to them together, but you need to make sure I am good first.
This contestant A, if they were yelling, my parents were yelling at me, there would be no disrespect back at them at all. I'm just listening. I hear you. I see you. I understand where you're coming from. I let them know that they've been heard. However, I wouldn't necessarily affirm what they're saying at all. If they are talking down on my spouse though during a conversation, I'm gonna let them know that what they're saying isn't necessarily acceptable. And if it comes to us having to go, and I say, babe, get the keys, she should already have them in her pocket. So like, let's go, if that makes sense. So it's really comes down to that.
This is Contestant B. So initially, I may respond and like kind of set expectations on this is a us thing and kind of apologize for us having this conversation here. And then I would expect her to defend us, right? Because if they disrespected me, I feel like they disrespected us. And then I would check myself later, right? Like, why was I this emotional around your parents? And then just gracefully leave, like, yeah.
So this is Contestant C. I interpreted this as them disrespecting me. What I would do is there would have already been a relationship for me built with everybody that's involved. And so I would seek to call on whatever conflict resolution that we have had in the past. And so as continuous as how even keel I am, that would be the temperature that I would like to try to bring the conversation to. What I would expect for her is to just follow that same lead of the rhythm of our relationship would have calm conflict resolution. So for her to just follow that lead as we look to seek for a peaceful resolution and possibly even leave.
You overhear a couple who's been dating for 3 years at brunch in a debate. The boyfriend is advising his girlfriend that she needs to submit to him. Her rebuttal is that she doesn't have to because they are not married and she will only submit to her husband. He explains that submission is not something you grow into overnight. It's something that you should practice before marriage. He says, if you know my character and you still want to marry me, why don't you want to work towards being the best version of a wife? She asks him, why can't you respect my independence and singleness while we aren't married? You've been talking about marrying me for the past 2.5 years, yet there is no ring. What's the rush? They both pull you in to ask for your opinion. What do you say? That's 30 seconds.
Is declining to engage an option? Because if so, that's the option I'm gonna take.
What advice would you give anybody in that scenario?
Lord. Okay, so truth be told, I think that she is technically right. I think that the problem with that though is you're not gonna turn it on like an on switch, right? And so naturally, I think that we look so much at submission versus not submission as opposed to like, who am I naturally in relation to a man that I desire romantic connection with? But I could understand why she would begin to rescind whatever she may have been doing in the beginning after 3 years. She probably doesn't feel safe anymore, so she feels like her efforts are in vain. I think though that if she can't submit or she can't see herself submitting, that she should have taken herself out the game past the mark that she needed to be married. She wanted to be married to that man. So I think that she has to take accountability for how long she stayed, but he is right in wanting to see certain things before marriage.
It seems like he's not feeling trusted and respected, so I would encourage her to give him that, but it also seems like she is not getting what she wants out of the relationship, which is a marriage. So I would encourage them to discuss that together. And 3 years, if you're doing it the right way, that's a long time. So I would just encourage them to have that conversation. But at the end of the day, like Scripture says, wives submit to your husband, so that's not her job, but she should respect him and trust him if that is going to be her man.
This is Lady A. One of the things I learned in my life is don't give someone privileges that they aren't rated, essentially. So if you're my boyfriend, you get boyfriend privileges. You don't get husband privileges because you're not my husband. He's my boyfriend. So the advice I would give to her or to them is that points are made. Your feelings are valid, but at the end of the day, it does come down to that trust and that respect. If you trust and if you give him trust and respect, that should be enough to hold him until he is ready to put a ring on your finger. If he's not putting a ring on your finger, trust and respect is all you can get. That's just me personally.
Contestant A, submission is a choice. It is something that the lady has to decide. The question isn't whether or not to submit. The question is who are you submitting to. If you feel like you can't submit to the man you pick a better man, quite frankly. Submission in true Hebrew context is displayed as friendship, and that is what has to actually take place within the context of your relationship. So if you can't see this man as your friend or somebody who can provide and take care of you, what are you submitting to?
This is Contestant B. It makes me want to put on my therapy hat, right?
Put it on.
So I would explore why they haven't married yet, right? That's the first thing. And then two, from a biblical perspective, submission is in leadership to your husband, right? And so you can't really expect her to submit and y'all aren't married. What else did I say? I said I would also explore how he defines submission in this area of their relationship. And then submission also at its core in a marriage is a gift, right? And so you can't just expect somebody to submit and y'all ain't even married, so.
This is Contestant C, Contestant C, I make sure I was right. This is Contestant C, and so I would explore as to what and why is it that they aren't moving towards being married. I think that after 3 years, there's definitely some flags that are being raised as to why that isn't the movement forward. And I think a lot of, we talk a lot about the whole submission thing. When I hear it's so important to men who want to be submitted to, I see that it almost sounds like they want to be in a position of power, and not so much when you as a husband, you're actually a servant. And so I think that the issue can lie if you're so focused on her being submissive, and rather than how you maneuver and how you guys engage in a relationship. When they feel safe in relationship, they naturally will be submissive, and you won't have to like declare and demand it. And so when I hear and see men declaring and demand for submission, there's a problem there in the relationship between both of them. And so that would be what I would try to bring out.
What are your boundaries on intimacy and sex?
Question, are we married or are we dating?
Dating.
Okay.
Where do I end? It's a dangerous question.
This is Lady A. No sex before marriage, period. Is that. But intimacy can be more than just sex. Definitely intimate conversations to a certain extent I feel like are good. My boundaries personally, I know me, I'm very affectionate. My love language is physical touch, so I have to be real careful. I'm gonna be real transparent. So, take it easy. There should be enough room for the Holy Spirit to be in between. And there should be certain times of night where we should just not be together. And that's it. That's me though.
Contestant A, I think that between each partner or between each relationship is for the partners involved in it. Personally, this is a very interesting question. I haven't answered this question in a long time. It's been a long time. No, you have to pause it. It's okay. I'm thinking of an answer. Oh, my mercy. Okay, so no sex before marriage is the suggested, better, most applicable way. But if we're being honest, and if I want to be technical with the Hebrew standard of text, the Bible, that what you allow to happen, what you allow to happen. So for me, I don't let a lot happen. But if you with it, we can make something happen. So what that means is, wow, we're going around the circle. I am going to follow this. It's going to be online. What's it called? I am a virgin waiting till marriage, but that only means one thing. So leave that to your interpretation. But yeah, I like sweet snacks. That's all. That's it. God bless.
As women, we often feel the pressure to fit into certain molds, especially within the Christian community. But Biblical Baddie Apparel is here to shatter those expectations and stereotypes. We believe in embracing true authenticity and God-given beauty, all while following Jesus Christ. It's all about being authentically you, sis, without compromising your faith. We're not just baddies, we are biblical baddies. Biblical Baddie Apparel. Stay praying, stay slaying.
When you are addressing the biblical standpoint, can you elaborate on what you feel like is true for you? Or like when you bring that, can you elaborate on what you're talking about?
So within the context of marriage and within the context of relationships, people often think that sex before marriage is not allowed. It is something that is rejected per se. And I understand that because that is what the fathers of old, the people who created denominations have made to be a safeguard for their women and relationships inside the church. However, the context and the fullness of what the Word of God says is that it is safer, it is better, it may be wiser. The virginity of an individual is up to that individual. It does not make you more holy, it doesn't make you more pure, it doesn't make you more godly in the eyes of God per se, but it is what you value of it. So for example, I value my virginity to a degree apparently because it's something that is we're talking about today. However, when it comes to virginity and marriage in the Jewish context, I like the time frame. In the Jewish context, it kind of it is the safekeeping or the safeguard for the woman. So if a man finds a woman who he likes, he marries her, and he goes into her and realizes he does not like her anymore. If she is a virgin, she has a token of virginity that then states that, oh, you can't get rid of me because I held it down. I held it down for this long. You are culturally, biblically, even by law at times, caused to stay with her. But if for some reason you go into her and you realize for some reason your body rejects it, you don't want her anymore, you don't like what she gave you, the top wasn't topping, whatever it was, you have that availability or that marking that says, oh, okay, I did not like what I found, and I returned her back to her father, which is not a scapegoat, but it is essentially what allows you that access to move around freely, because some people want to try more before they get, and I don't think it's the best way to go, however, it is an option. I personally enjoy a sweet treat, you feel me? Where if it goes past that though, I don't really quite, haven't gotten to that point per se. So we're waiting till marriage, but I have a sweet tooth. You can interpret that for what you mean. So God bless it.
The fire is hot, Chris.
And it'll be hotter. You feel me?
So, there's Lady B. I believe that abstinence is wise, and I believe that that's God's will, right? I'm gonna give you a little scenario. I think that because one, I'm not a virgin, but because of that, it makes it more difficult because I know what I'm missing. And so I have to be intentional and make sure that I'm with somebody that also has that same goal. But if we fall down, but we get up. That's all I'm saying. Like, you might be a vegetarian that every so often end up eating chicken, and then the next day you're a vegetarian again. So yeah, that's what I said. Like, that is the goal. That is what I try to do. But I am not the poster child for abstinence, and I do not give away my cookies just willy-nilly at all. So there's that too.
Cool. So B.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I'm waiting until marriage. Not a virgin, but by God's grace, He's been allowing me to hold it down for years. I would also kind of define what physical intimacy looks like. I think that's important to setting boundaries and kind of what I can take, what she can take, and kind of just make that like our thing. And then also if we do need like any kind of accountability, we can throw that in the mix too, but definitely wait until marriage.
Lady C.
Also waiting until marriage. It's something that I value, and it's a non-negotiable for me. It's actually something I bring up on every first date. I don't think it's too soon. And the last date I went on, we didn't go on a second date because it's just not something he said he could do. So it's a non-negotiable, it's important to me. And I believe boundaries, we have to be practical. We can't set ourselves up for failure. So no, you should not sleep over. No, you should not be here any time of the night. And let's be on the same page with our goals.
All right, so this is Contestant C. So yes, I also agree that I would not be having sex before marriage. That's also a non-negotiable, important thing to me. As it relates to the actual practicality of what intimacy looks like, it can look like many different things in terms of different conversations and moments that you have together. But I think that when you have an establishment of what the ultimate goal is, then it's easier to work backwards from there. So we wouldn't put ourselves in situations to fail, or we'd have safeguards around us. So yeah, that's really the focus for me, is that you know, we can hug, we can have like light kissing and things of that nature, but that's no sex.
All right.
In the next episode, contestants go deeper to see if they can grow deeper.
You walk in on your spouse watching porn. This has been
Like with me, there would be no need for porn, so it would have to be
Respect. If that's your ex, that's your problem.
I feels like it depends on the situation.
I encourage you after I get upset. I would encourage you to
We test their integrity and character one-on-one.
How old are you?
I am 25. I'll be 26 this year.
Deal breakers is someone that doesn't value purity. Deal breakers is someone that
Can go. I just was in Sydney with my brother and
Australia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tune in to see who will find their potential kingdom spouse. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe and comment down below who you think will make the best match in the garden.